I returned to my hometown a few weeks ago. It felt normal at first, just me and the cornfields. I came back as an agricultural researcher to study the strange crop patterns from climate change. It was all very routine. But that cornfield on the edge of town was nothing like I remembered. The first evening back, I noticed the corn swaying gently. The air was still. I thought I was imagining things. As I stepped closer, it felt like time slipped away. Then I heard giggles, faint and distant, echoing among the rows. I figured I was just tired after a long day. The next morning, I found odd footprints in the dirt leading into the field. They stood out against the hard ground, like something had walked through the stalks. My heart raced as I followed the tracks. I felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. Maybe I could find something important. One night, after a long day of work, I returned to the field. Shadows covered everything, and the moonlight made the crops look eerie. A chill crept down my spine, but I pushed on. Suddenly, I saw figures moving silently among the corn. They were in a circle, dark shapes blending with the night. I could only hear the rustle of leaves. I grabbed my phone, ready to record. As soon as I pressed record, the figures vanished, like smoke slipping away. My stomach dropped. Was I losing my mind? I stood there, shaken and unsure. Over the next days, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. It unnerved me. I tried to focus, measuring the crops and taking notes, but every return to the field carried that wrong feeling. The air was colder, thick with something I couldn't name. I stumbled across more odd patterns in the corn. Curves and dips traced strange shapes. I took pictures and compared my findings, but it didn't feel right. The shadows seemed darker. The giggles rang in my head. Now, months later, I still wrestle with what happened. I often wonder if I should have left that cornfield alone. There was something supernatural about it. I scared myself with thoughts of what could be lurking. Had I made it all up in my head, or was there really something hiding in those stalks? Every time I close my eyes, I can still see those figures standing in the dark. Their shapes call out to me. I can't shake the feeling they wanted me to join them, to be part of something I didn't understand. The question haunts me. What was it that I really saw? I can't escape the memory. The cornfield still holds a mystery, one I can't dismiss or explain. The next week, I decided I had to return to the field. I couldn't let fear control me. It was time to get answers. Armed with flashlights and a notebook, I headed out before sunset. The air was thick with humidity, making everything feel heavier. As I stepped into the rows of corn, the atmosphere shifted. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves in a way that almost felt alive. I moved deeper into the field, still cautious but determined. I wanted to gather evidence, something concrete I could point to when explaining everything. Before long, I stumbled across another pattern, a large spiral etched into the ground, surrounded by bent stalks that lay flat as if pressed down. I knelt, eyes narrowed. This was different from the other patterns. It seemed intentional, like a message written in the earth. My heart raced. Was this a sign? A clue? Suddenly, I heard it again, the giggles. They sounded closer this time, sharper, almost playful. Panic surged through me. My instincts told me to turn back, but curiosity pulled me deeper. I wanted to know who or what was behind those voices. That's when I saw it. A small figure darted between the corn, laughing and weaving as if dancing. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't tell if it was a child or something else entirely. I raised my flashlight, trying to catch a glimpse, but the figure moved too fast. "Hello," I called out, my voice wavering. The giggles stopped. Silence swept over the field. Chills ran down my back. I lowered my light, glancing around nervously. That's when I heard footsteps crunching in the dirt behind me. I spun, my heart pounding. Is someone there? Nothing. Just the whispers of the wind through the leaves. Taking a breath, I turned back to the spiral, more determined than ever. I needed to document this, figure out what it all meant. I pulled out my phone, tapping the camera button, and looked around for any clues. As the screen lit up, I froze. In the corner of the viewfinder, I caught a glimpse of shadow behind me. It was tall and thin, looming just out of reach. I whipped around, and it was gone, leaving nothing but the stillness of the night. I stumbled backward, feeling the hard corn beneath my feet. My mind raced. Had I really seen that? Or was it just another trick of the mind, a reflection of my own fear? Then, from deep within the rows, a new sound emerged, low and rhythmic, like the beating of a drum. It pulsed through the air, vibrating against my chest. I had to leave. The unease grew stronger, clawing at me. As I started to walk away, the giggles returned, echoing in the darkness. It felt like they were calling me back, pulling me into the depths of the field. I ran, stumbling through the stalks, the laughter following me like a shadow. I burst out of the corn and into the clearing, gasping for breath. I knew I wasn't alone, not anymore. Something was in there with me, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. I looked back at the cornfield one last time. The night felt colder, the air thick with whatever presence lurked just behind the rows. I had opened a door I couldn't close. I had to know what wanted me to join them. But at what cost? As I turned to leave, I felt it again, a watchful gaze fixed on me. And I knew this wasn't over. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had uncovered something in those rows of corn. Despite my fear, I knew I had to return. The giggles and shadows were places I didn't want to revisit, yet I felt pulled back like a moth to a flame. The next evening, I decided to explore a different part of the field. I needed answers, but wondered if I was just asking for trouble. I brought an old digital camera, hoping it might capture something the phone couldn't. As I stepped back into the corn, the sun was a faint orange line on the horizon, fading rapidly. Almost immediately, the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. The air was colder, and the rustling of the leaves felt more pronounced, as if the whole field were whispering to me. I pushed deeper into the rows, trying to calm my racing heart, repeating to myself that I needed to know. Then, I heard it again, a sharp giggle, followed by the distinct sound of childish voice. It was softer this time, almost like it was trying to lull me back into a sense of comfort. "Come play with us," it called. That I hesitated. Part of me wanted to bolt right there. But what if I found some answers? I took a step forward, the ground crunching beneath my feet, and aimed my camera toward the sound. As I walked, the voice faded, leaving an echo that sent chills down my spine. Before I could reconsider, I saw something flicker at the edge of my vision, a flash of white among the green stalks. I focused the camera and followed the movement, my heart racing. The way it moved was erratic, but playful, just like the sounds I had heard. "Who are you?" I shouted, though my voice trembled. The laughter resumed, closer now and mixed with a high-pitched squeal. Doubt crept in. Were they children? Or something else entirely? Just as I caught sight of the figure again, the drumbeat returned, louder this time. It pounded through the ground into my bones, making me feel unsteady. I turned to leave, but stumbled. I could have sworn someone or something had brushed against my shoulder. That's when I caught a glimpse of it. A small face peered around a corn stalk, framed by a wild mass of hair. It looked like a child, but its eyes were too big, too dark. They stared at me, wide and unblinking. My breath caught in my throat. "Don't go," it begged, its voice sweet as candy, but I felt the warning in my gut. My instinct screamed that this was wrong. Before I could react, the figure disappeared, laughing as it vanished into the depths of the field. I felt something cold wrap around my ankle, like little fingers gripping tightly. Panic flared, and I pulled myself free, running back toward the edge of the corn. I burst out once again, lungs burning. The moon was higher now, casting a silvery glow over everything. I paused, trying to catch my breath, and looked back one last time. The figure lingered just at the threshold, staring at me with those haunting eyes. Then it smiled, and everything went dark. The lights around me flickered, and I frantically searched for my flashlight. But my heart sank when I realized the only sound now was silence. The giggles were gone. I stood there, trembling, knowing I needed to figure out how to escape this nightmare. I didn't know what was in that field, but now it felt like it was more than just a game. There was something else lurking, waiting to be unleashed. What do they want from me? I didn't even want to imagine. I stumbled backward, my breath coming in quick gasps. The silence felt heavy and oppressive. I scanned the area, my instincts telling me I needed to move, but I was frozen in place. Whatever had happened in that field, it wasn't over. After a few moments, I forced myself to turn and run, pushing away the overwhelming weight of fear. I barreled through the rows, my flashlight flickering sporadically as I weaved between the towering stalks. Every creak of the leaves felt like another presence lurking nearby, and my heart raced with every shadow that danced at the edges of my vision. As I broke through to the edge of the field, I didn't stop until I reached the safety of the gravel road. I turned to look back, the moonlight spilling across the sea of corn. Was it a silhouette I saw moving deep within? I squinted, and for a brief moment, I thought I saw the same face peering out, its features obscured by the darkness. Soon it was gone that I stood there, shaky and breathless. I couldn't shake the images from my mind. Those eyes, that smile. I knew I should go home, away from this madness. But a compulsion pulled at me. I had to understand what I'd seen, what I had felt. I ached for answers. It was reckless, I knew, but I wasn't ready to abandon the search. The next day, I decided to return, but this time with a plan. I pulled up every local legend I could find about the field and its history, hoping to find some sort of clue. What had happened here in the past? Were there stories of children lost in the corn, whispers of something sinister? After hours of research, I stumbled upon an old newspaper article from the 1980s. It told the story of a neighborhood child who had gone missing near those very fields. No one ever found them. My stomach twisted at the thought, and I felt a chill race up my spine. What had I stumbled into? When evening fell, I gathered my courage and returned to the field. Armed with my camera, a flashlight, and the newspaper article carefully folded in my pocket, I stepped into the corn once more. The sun dipped low, leaving a twilight glow that cast long shadows along the ground. I made my way deeper, the rustling of the leaves feeling more pronounced. It was as if the field buzzed with anticipation. "Come play with us," I thought I heard, but this time it wasn't just a memory. It felt real, echoing through the corn like a taunt that I pressed on, clutching my camera tightly. The deeper I went, the more agitated the air seemed to become, pulling me toward the very spot where I had encountered that unsettling figure. The pulse of the earth beneath my feet quickened, and I could almost hear whispers mingling with the wind. That's when I saw it again. A flash of white among the green, darting between the stalks, reminding me of the figure. But something was different this time. It lingered at the periphery, just long enough for me to see it clearly. Then came the laughter, this time shriller and more chaotic, wrapping around me like vines. The hairs on my arms stood on end. There was something dark within that laughter, a haunting edge that made my heart race even faster. I felt my grip on reality slipping. My eyes were locked on that figure. Closing in on me, I could make out not just one but several others, joining the first, dancing in a circle among the corn. It was a play date I never wanted to join. And then, in a heartbeat, they stopped, their eyes fixated on me, the same deep void that had haunted my dreams. It was an invitation, or perhaps a challenge. My hand trembled as I raised my camera to capture this madness. But before I could click the shutter, the laughter stopped, replaced by an eerie stillness that chilled me to the bone. In that moment, I knew something terrible was about to happen. A tense silence replaced the laughter, and I felt exposed, like a target for whatever darkness lingered amongst the cornstalks. My instinct screamed at me to retreat, but I was rooted to the spot, caught between fear and a nagging curiosity. I needed to know what these figures wanted, why they were drawn to me. The circle of children stood as still as statues, their faces hidden in shadow, yet I could feel those vacant eyes boring into me. "What do you want?" I called out, my voice wavering. It was a ridiculous question, and I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. What could they possibly want? For a moment, I thought I saw one of them step forward. The figure melted away from the others, stepping into a beam of moonlight. Its features became clearer, and I felt my stomach drop. The figure was a girl, no older than 10, with long hair cascading around her face. She looked both familiar and alien, like a reflection of the girl from the picture I'd found in the newspaper article. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. A chill wrestled my spine. It was as if she was trapped in an echo of my own fear, unable to speak, yet conveying something urgent. The others behind her giggled, their laughter resembling wind rustling through the leaves. Was it playful or mocking, Before I could think, I took a step closer, drawn by an invisible thread of connection. The girl's eyes widened, then narrowed, as if she sensed my hesitation. Help, I thought I heard her whisper, her lips barely moving. Then everything shifted. The other children broke formation, dashing off in all directions, their laughter piercing the air like 1,000 broken glass shards. The girl turned sharply, following her companions into the shadows. Panic surged in me, and I turned to run back, but the way I had come was shrouded in darkness, the corn looming like a prison. Just as I realized I was lost, I felt a tug at my sleeve. The girl from before stood just inches away, her face no longer twisted with fear. Instead, it was a mix of sadness and urgency. She raised a finger to her lips, shushing me as if my frantic breathing was disturbing a secret. Wait, I whispered, unsure if I should trust her. Where are you going? In response, she pointed toward a part of the field that appeared oddly illuminated, though there was no source of light I could see. With trembling hesitation, I followed her toward the glow. Each step felt heavier than the last, the air thickening around me as I ventured deeper into the field's heart. Suddenly, a sharp, anguished cry echoed from behind me. A voice I recognized. My pulse quickened as a new wave of terror washed over me. No, I shouted, turning back. The girl fled instantly, as if my desperate call had activated some hidden defense against me. I stumbled through the corn, heart racing. Wait, please. But the corn swallowed my words. My camera dangled uselessly in my hand, now just a weight. I had to find the girl. I had to understand what this meant, but something ominous loomed within the field. With every step, I felt the presence of something else watching me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not just on a search for answers, but also walking straight into a trap. Then I caught sight of movement in my periphery, and dread coiled tight in my gut. I was no longer alone. There was something behind me, lurking, waiting for my next move. Panic surged, and once again, I felt that pull to flee before it was too late. But before I could turn to run, a voice stirred from the shadows, a voice all too familiar. Help me. And in that instant, I was paralyzed, realizing I wasn't sure who was pleading for help. The cry hung in the air, cracking the stillness like a whip. I stood frozen, grappling with the paralyzing truth that shaped the dark shadows around me. The voice was unmistakable, constant yet faint, like a lingering echo of forgotten memories. Doubt crept in, twisting my stomach. I needed to move, to respond. The girl had vanished into the dark, leaving no trace except the icy grip of fear. Is anyone there? I called out, my own voice sounding smaller than I wanted it to be. Silence pressed down, suffocating in its weight. Then, I heard it again, softer this time. Help me. The voice trembled, dripping with urgency and something else, anguish? Regret? This time, I took a step toward the sound. The sudden crack of corn underfoot startled me, slicing through the silence harshly. I turned and squinted into the dark, searching for the source. Where are you? My heart hammered in rhythm with my footsteps, each beat pulling me deeper into the abyss. I stumbled upon a clearing. The moonlight spilled onto the ground like spilled paint, illuminating patches of shadow and weak strands of corn that rustled in the cool breeze. And then, at the center of the clearing, lay an object half buried in the dirt. It was a doll, tattered and ragged, its button eyes staring blankly upward. The resemblance to the girl was uncanny, the same tangled hair and faded dress. I reached down, feeling an electric pull to it. But as I lifted it into view, the atmosphere around me rippled, tainted by a deep unease. Again, the voice whispered, now clearer, more insistent. My breath caught as I realized it wasn't just the doll calling out. The shadows flickered, bending and twisting as if they were alive, lurking and waiting for something to happen. Please, no, I murmured, dropping the doll. The moment it hit the ground, silence fell over the clearing. Everything froze, no wind, no rustle of the corn, just an intense stillness. But then rubbery shadows stretched out, reaching for me. Time stood still. I felt eyes on me again, multiple sets, hidden just beyond the fringes of the moonlight. They were watching, hungry. Help me, the voice urged, but now was layered, multiple voices intertwining, building like a crescendo of terror. Clutching my camera tightly, I backed away, terrified. What do you want from me? I shouted, heart racing and voice trembling. It was a stupid question, the same flavor of ridiculousness that gripped me earlier. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, dipping into the ground and vanishing. I blinked, disoriented, trying to process what had just happened. But then, another sound echoed to my right, of familiar sobbing. Fear gripped me tight. It was more than I could take. Stop it! I screamed, desperation clawing at my throat. In response, the wind picked up, carrying a flurry of whispers. They swirled around me, encircling me in an invisible trap. That S when I saw her. The girl's face emerged from the dark, illuminated by an otherworldly glow. You shouldn't have come here. It's not safe. Her words pierced through my panic, grounding me for the briefest moment. What do you mean? I gasped. But when I reached out for her, she backed away, the glow fading, leaving only shadows behind. In that instant, all the voices crescendoed into one united wail. I felt my heart lurch as awareness dawned. I was standing at the edge of something terrible, something that demanded a choice. I had stumbled upon their secret, and now I might never escape. Then the ground beneath me quaked, and the world went dark. I gasped as I fell into darkness, cold earth rushing up to meet me. My body hit the ground hard, knocking the breath from my lungs. I scrambled to sit up, disoriented. The shadows loomed around me, thick and suffocating. My heart pounded in my chest, a steady drum signaling my panic that I blinked against the dark, trying to make sense of my surroundings. All I could hear was the sound of my own breathing, shallow and uneven. Where are you? I whispered into the void. No answer came, just silence wrapping around me, heavy and oppressive. A flicker of movement caught my eye, a brief shimmer in the darkness. I squinted, catching a glimpse of the girl again, her face just beyond reach, a glimmer of hope in my suffocating panic. Help me! Her voice echoed faintly, almost pleading. I struggled to my feet, knees trembling. The shadows seemed to quiver in response, wrapping tighter around me. Wait! I can help! I shouted, frustration lacing my voice. I moved forward, stumbling but desperate to reach her. But she was gone again, the faint glow extinguishing like a candle snuffed out by the wind. I inhaled sharply, my breath hitching in my throat. I was losing my grip on whatever this was. Don't go! I cried out, but the air was thick with silence. Then, suddenly, a different sound broke through the rustling of corn stalks all around me, as if something was moving. My heart raced once more. I redirected my attention, scanning the field ahead. The shadows swayed, dancing in the moonlight, taunting me with their unpredictability. I felt it, then a presence close by, something that wasn't just part of the darkness. That is when I noticed a figure standing at the edge of the field. It was impossible to tell if it was a man or a woman. They were just a silhouette against the moonlit backdrop of corn. Who are you? I called, voice wavering. The figure didn't respond, but it stepped forward, shadows shifting around them. With every step, the air felt thicker, as if I was breathing in something foul. I hesitated, rooted in place. Then another sound pierced through the stillness, a soft, childlike laughter. It broke apart the tension, threading through the corn rows like a haunting melody. The figure turned towards it, their silhouette twisting in the glow of the moonlight. Stop it! I shouted, suddenly furious. What do you want? But the figure was drifting away from me, drawn by the laughter. Panic flooded my senses. I surged forward, compelled by an instinct to protect. But as I moved, the laughter faded, replaced once again by that sobbing. I stumbled to a halt, breathless. Why are you doing this? I shouted into the dark. A whisper brushed past me, ghost-like. Help us! I realized then I had two paths. I could run, leaving the shadows behind, or I could confront this unsettling presence. I took a deep breath, heart racing. I chose to stay. The ground trembled again, a warning. The shadows surged, and I knew this was not over. The decision I made would lead me deeper into something I still didn't understand. The figure disappeared, but now a new sound echoed, sharp and clear a scream, piercing through the darkness. I turned to follow it, knowing I might just be stepping into the heart of the storm. I ran toward the source of the scream, adrenaline surging through my veins. Each step felt like it pulled my body into the darkness, the shadows clutching at my ankles. The world around me became blurred, fading into a strange mix of moonlight and fear. As I moved deeper into the cornfield, the air grew colder, and the rustling of the stalks started to surround me, like whispers of the unknown. "Hello," I called, voice trembling. The only response was the echo of my own voice bouncing back. Then, I saw her again, the girl from before. Her features were clearer now, her eyes wide with terror. She stood among the corn, trembling, and when she saw me, she opened her mouth as if to scream, but no sound came out. "Help me." She pointed toward a denser patch of corn. I felt a pull, a desperate urgency in her gaze. Please, before I could respond, I heard again the scream, urgent and terrified. I turned instinctively toward the sound, my heart skipping. "I'm coming," I shouted, hoping my voice could reach whoever was in distress. The girl moved closer, but then she faltered, glancing back at something behind me. I turned around quickly, but there was only darkness, thick and heavy. "What is it?" I stammered, panic creeping into my voice. It's not safe," she gasped, eyes wide, darting between the corn and the shadows that cloaked the field. "You shouldn't be here." That only fueled my resolve. "Then we need to help whoever it is," I said, my voice sharper, more determined. The girl took a step back, fear etched across her face. Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, filling the air with a chilling cheerfulness that sent shivers down my spine. I looked toward its direction, and that was when everything shifted. The leaves rustled violently, and the ground trembled beneath me. Out of the shadows, another figure emerged, a tall silhouette with elongated limbs and an unsettling grin painted across its face. The laughter morphed into something more sinister. It echoed and twisted, a dark symphony of mirth mingled with terror. "Leave this place," the figure commanded, its voice echoing in a low, guttural tone that seemed to vibrate through me. "You do not belong here." I stood frozen, my instinct screaming to run. But there was still the girl, her face pale and pleading. "No," she cried, clutching at her head as if she were fighting against the control of the darkness. "Don't listen to them." With a flash of anger, I stepped in front of her, facing the figure. "Why are you doing this?" "Let her go." My voice cracked slightly, but I pushed forward, fueled by a deep-seated need to confront whatever this was. The figure laughed again, a sound that sent chills running up my spine. "One cannot simply leave the cornfield," it mocked, moving closer. "You are drawn to the darkness now. You will understand soon enough." That S when I saw it, a dark mist curling at the figure's feet, threading through the corn, creeping toward me. Panic surged through my body as I grabbed the girl's hand. "Run," I shouted. Together, we stumbled away from the figure, the shadows twisting and reaching for us as we dashed through the corn. I was scared and confused, but I couldn't let go of her hand. We needed to escape, but I could already feel the darkness chasing us, relentless and hungry. Just ahead, I spotted a break in the cornfield, a glimmer of moonlight spilling through. But the scream rang out again, cutting into my thoughts. I hesitated, torn between getting to safety and uncovering the mystery that had ensnared us. "Don't look back," the girl urged, pulling me forward. But the pull of the darkness was strong. The choice lay heavy before me. I had to decide, fight the shadows or head for the light. I sprinted toward the light. The promise of safety ahead filled my lungs with renewed courage, urging me to push faster. The corn stalks whipped against my legs, like hands trying to drag me back into the abyss. In the background, I could hear the laughter creeping closer, mingling with the shouts of despair that haunted the air. "Please," the girl gasped as we stumbled through the rows. She was pulling me with a strength that threatened to outmatch my own fear. "We have to hurry. They won't let us escape." The ground felt uneven beneath my feet, almost as if it were alive. My heart raced, pounding painfully in my chest. Just when I thought we were nearing the edge, the moonlight flickered, the brightness dimming like a candle extinguished by a gust of wind. The darkness surged, swallowing the glimmering escape. "Don't stop," I urged her, but as we ran, my eyes flickered back to the figure. It was still lurking among the corn, its smile shifting from sinister to intrigued. Had we made it? Or was this part of its plan, a cruel game designed to confuse us further? Suddenly, the girl stumbled, letting go of my hand. I turned, instinctively reaching back for her, but I was caught in a sudden grip of terror. The laughter grew louder, resonating through the air in mocking waves. My mind screamed at me to abandon her, to forge ahead, but something deep inside refused to do so. "Stay with me," I called out, my voice a mix of panic and determination. I could hear the corn rustling ominously in the darkness. The shadows seemed to pull tighter around us, darker than the night itself. "I can't," she gasped, her voice barely a whisper now. If I stay before she could finish, a flash of light erupted from the other side of the cornfield. It was blinding, illuminating a small clearing ahead, but also casting long, nightmarish shadows across the stalks. For a brief moment, everything stood still. That when I felt a chill rippling through the air, unlike anything I had ever experienced. It wrapped around me, nearly rooting me to the ground. I wanted to look back at her, but the darkness was too heavy, clinging to me like a shroud. Then I forced myself to focus on the light, which ebbed and flowed rhythmically, pulsing. "Follow the light," I shouted, my instincts kicking in again. But the girl didn't move. Her eyes were caught between the shadows and the illumination. I took a step. I realized she was fading, her form becoming less distinct, blending with the dark mist swirling around us. "No!" I yelled, desperation giving my voice strength. I lunged toward her, time stretching painfully in the space between us. The figure reemerged from the deep shadows, longer and more menacing than before. "You should have listened," it hissed, voice sharp as a blade. I felt the air tighten around me. That I made a decision. I would abandon her to whatever that was. I dashed back toward the girl, reaching out just as the shadows leaped forward, ready to claim me too. "Help me." The sound of her plea was like a knife, cutting through the chaos. Just as my fingers brushed hers, something jarring erupted from the ground, a thick, twisted hand of darkness that shot up like a vine, reaching for me. I felt its grip closing around my ankles, pulling me into a cold embrace. I barely had time to scream before the ground began to give way beneath us, the darkness eager to consume. And then everything went dark. I woke up on the side of the road, the flickering of streetlights brushing across my face. My heart thundered as I tried to piece together the fragments of what had just happened. I was disoriented, the memories still hazy and raw from the darkness. Gradually, everything began to settle into place. The laughter and cries from the cornfield echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of whatever had taken place just moments ago. That I struggled to sit up, scanning my surroundings. The cornfield lay just beyond the asphalt, the stalks swaying gently, as if whispering secrets among themselves. I tried to shake the fog from my brain, pushing myself to remember the girl and the one pleading for help. Had I escaped? A wave of relief washed over me, followed quickly by a surge of dread. Did I leave something behind? The realization that I might have abandoned the girl hit me, with equal parts guilt and horror. As I stood, my legs felt heavy, as if they were still tangled in the shadows I had fought against. I took a cautious step toward the field, the moon hanging high above like a witness to my fears. The air was still but charged, like the calm before storm. I gripped my phone, hoping that by capturing any evidence, I might translate the inexplicable into something tangible. I ventured closer to the edge, peering into the darkness. The rustling of leaves seemed to form words, twisting in the wind. "Come back. Come play." I recoiled at the sound of childish laughter. The field yawned before me, an insatiable mouth waiting to swallow me whole. My heart raced as I focused on the rows of corn, searching for any sign of what I'd left behind, that a thought struck me. Was it possible the girl was just a figment of my imagination, a hallucination spurred by the unsettling atmosphere of the field? I never truly saw her face, clearly only shadows and a flash of wide eyes. But the voice had felt so real, so grounded in urgency. I stumbled back, a part of me wanting to flee, yet another part yearning for resolution. I stepped back, wrestling with the lingering echo of a child's plea. Tell me, did I truly hear it, or was it just a trick of the mind? In that moment, I thought of the newspaper article, the child who had gone missing so many years ago. The pull of its mystery tangled with my own fears about guilt and failure. Had I uncovered something that was never meant to be found? Or had I merely scratched the surface of a truth that wanted to remain buried? As I turned to leave the field behind, I paused, glancing back one last time. The corn shifted menacingly, shadows darting between the stalks. The unresolved specters danced in the moonlight, leaving me with more questions than answers. Until that moment, I had been a mere observer, but now I felt irrevocably tied to whatever lurked in that dark embrace. I took a deep breath, the weight of the encounter still heavy on my heart. Maybe I was not meant to understand it, just as the girl who had beckoned me was now lost in the labyrinth of that field. I didn't know where she had vanished to, or if I would ever find her again, but a thread of hope knotted in my chest, a promise that perhaps one day I would discover the truth. I walked away, unable to shake off the feeling of being watched. Occasionally, as I glanced back, I could swear I caught sight of a figure standing at the edge of the field, motionless in the darkness, those wide, haunting eyes fixed on me. I shivered, stepping away from the shadows, knowing that while I had escaped, the night's memories would remain untamed, lost among the corn.